Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. Excoundrel AFK Journey here, and we are going to be tackling Alpha Bear today. And Alpha Bear is the new Primal Lord that is essentially similar to the Wolf, but again, we're going to show you some nuanced differences. I want to make sure that you guys are prepared to get as much damage done to this guy as possible. You do not need to rank top. The rewards don't scale particularly well on Primal Lords, so just deal as much damage as you physically can every day, and you'll get some good rewards out of it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate if you did. I've had a lot of support on the channel, and I'm still growing. I'd love to hit 1,000 subscribers, so if you would like to subscribe, that'd be awesome. I'm going to show you 3 different comps. I'm going to use all 3 of my tries to show you 3 different comps. I'm going to try and make some free-to-play friendly, and I'm going to try and make some sort of more kind of like what you're going to aim for at endgame. So we're going to start off, and I'm going to explain briefly kind of what Alpha Bear does. So, the TLDR, Alpha Bear will debuff your team with honey, which basically deals damage to someone over time, and then also reduces the healing that they receive, which is annoying. He will also, if there is no melee character in range, deal a massive AoE that basically blows up your entire team. So what we can essentially infer from this is that we need to have someone in melee range at all times, 1 tile radius of Alpha Bear, otherwise they're going to basically full AoE our team. So that's why we've got Korin. He's probably our stickiest tank. I'd recommend that you run Korin if you have him, because he just has a revive, so it means that when he dies, he should be able to come back to life and buy a bit more time for your team. In general, with these fights, and this is my first piece of advice before we even get into building team comps, in general, what you are going to find is that the highest ascendancy characters that you have are going to be the best. So it doesn't matter what you're running, just the highest ascendancy characters that you have are going to be the best. As long as you've got 1 tank, 1 kind of healing support, because in general with Primal Lords, they tend to deal damage across the entire team. So having like Huin or having Smokey and Mirky really helps, because you want someone that's going to heal the team. Another good, someone that I quite like for Primal bosses, if you have them at Mythic Plus or even sort of around that level, is Damien. Because Damien technically will continue to heal your team and not take any damage, because Damien exits the fight at the very start. But regardless, you need 1 tank that's going to stay in melee range. You're then going to need at least a healer, and this is where Koko really comes into her own. Koko is great in Primal Lord fights because of the damage reduction that she provides to your entire team. So, this is the comp that I am going to run to begin with. This comp is really good because it has 3 Maulers and 2 Graveborns. Korin, hopefully most of you might have found a copy of Korin by now. Cecia, because everyone is guaranteed to get Cecia, and hopefully a lot of you will have ascended her. Smokey and Mirky has got great AoE healing and debuffing potential. Odie is one of the best single target DPSs in the game, and then we're running Koko because of her damage reduction. So this is what we're going to do here. I'm going to split Koko up a little bit, just over this side, but this is the comp that we're going to run on our first attempt to deal as much damage as possible. So this is my first suggestion of a comp, in my opinion, there are a few that you can use. Star Shard spell, especially if you've got it at level 10, tends to be the best at dealing damage to bosses, because it's just all about using your ultimates. You could also use Awakening spell on this, because there's a lot of AoE damage, so you're going to provide extra physical and magic defense for your team and grant them some healing. I am going to stick with Star Shard spell though, because realistically, you know, with Primal Lord bosses, it is generally just about how long you can survive. The longer you survive, the more damage you're going to deal. Boom, let's get into it. I generally just leave my stuff on auto cast, because what you'll find is that Cecia generally tends to cast before Koko, and then you really want Koko to cast after Cecia. So there we go, Cecia casts, and now Koko's going to go boom. So you can see we have got people debuffed with honey. That's going to cause damage to them over time. It's going to get worse and worse. So you are essentially trying to... this is why Koko works really well, because you've got lifesteal in there too. You are just trying to outlast the honey, which you can see here. I've taken a load of damage. This was actually a relatively low damage output for me in general. Okay. There you go. I didn't last that long. There's probably something I can do to make my comp a bit better. So we're going to have a go again. We actually hit rank 26 with that. So I thought we'd actually done worse than we had. That's not too bad. Right, so rank 26 on my server, pretty good. let's go into the next comp. So this comp's a little different. I will actually end up dealing less damage with this, which I'm okay with because I've already hit my max damage for the day. So this comp is going to be a little different. We're going to have Smokey and Mirky on the front line. We are then going to essentially remove these guys. So Smokey and Mirky on the front line. We're going to bring in Kruger. Now Kruger would be so much better if we had him at Mythic or Mythic Plus or Legendary Plus even, because he gets a bit tankier at that point. But, you know, it is what it is. If you have been leveling the right heroes for Dream Realm, we're going to run this. So essentially, Korin comes in. He's got a range of 2. He shields himself quite nicely. We also then have a Marilee, who's really good single target. Again, these guys get way better at Mythic Plus. So this is what I'm saying is like, this would be fine. And this has got a lot of good single target damage, but would be much better at Mythic Plus. And obviously, Marilee jumps around and Korin shields himself a lot. So this is what we're going to run with this time. We'll see how the damage goes. If I had these guys at Mythic Plus, this would be a very, very strong team. We'll have to just see how it goes. So we're getting a debuff on the boss, which reduces his armor. Obviously, Smokey and Mirky is mostly magic damage, but Korin and Marilee do a lot of physical. We have the honey getting applied. One of the big problems that we're going to face, unfortunately, is that we have a very low tier Kruger who will probably end up dying, and then we're going to get the big AoE from the boss, which is going to be a pain in the ass. We've got another debuff on the boss, which is doing a lot of damage. This actually might end up doing more damage than my other... No, we're not. We're going to get killed before we do more damage than my other comp. But it was pretty close, considering how much lower the Ascendancy was. So there we go. A little bit lower damage, which is not too bad, given how much lower the Ascendancy was on this team. Perfectly okay, but if you do have Korin and Marilee at a good level, this is a really good team setup to run with, so you can give this one a go as well. Now, this is a comp that I just want to try to see how it does. We are not running a tank, but we are running Florabelle and Cecia, and what we want to do with Florabelle and Cecia is that we want them to ensure that we have Mr. Carlisle and Florabelle's Bashi in melee range, which I'm hoping will mean that we don't trigger the AoE. I don't know, not tested it, we're going to give it a go. This is full summoner build, it's summoner Koko build, and then we just have Odie as well for DPS. I have no idea how this one's going to go. We'll have to see. There's the AoE, by the way, so that happens when we don't have a something in melee range, but we're quite early on into the fight. So there goes Mr. Carlisle, there goes Bashi, and here goes Koko. So now we have everybody buffed up to the extreme with Koko. I love this is a build that I run for a lot of situations. It's basically like Koko summoner build. Koko buffs all of your summons and makes them really strong. And he's actually not doing his AoE, which is pretty good for the time being. So we're doing a lot of damage, actually. This Koko summoner build is working out quite nicely for me. Now, obviously, my Florabelle is Mythic Plus, so she's doing quite well. Everyone's taking a lot of damage. Oh, this is going to be tough, isn't it? Okay, now we don't have anyone in melee range, which means we're probably going to get AoE'd down. No, Mr. Carlisle's come back. Oh, he's just dead. Do you know what? The Koko Summoner build, there's the AoE that just blew us up. The Koko Summoner build didn't do as well as my first build, but did quite well. So, again, another one of those situations where, I think with a little bit more tinkering, that could be a pretty good comp. But those are the 3 builds that I would suggest trying to run with. The first one really is the best one. Odie can be replaced by any kind of single target DPS that you've got at a high level. Marilee is best, but Odie can be replaced in that situation. But obviously, there you go. That is a few comps that you can run for the Alpha Bear Primal Bear boss. Give it a go, see how it runs. I would recommend the first one if you really want to push the ranks, but otherwise, just ensure that you're running the formula of having someone in melee range to make sure that he doesn't do his big AoE, having an AoE healer to make sure you can sustain through the honey damage, and then just stacking as much DPS as you can get away with while surviving. There you go. Enjoy. I'll see you soon.